August 26th, 1883, the Beyerinck family goes to sleep in their home on the Sumatran coast, 10 miles from a volcano that has been rumbling for 3 months. By tomorrow night, more than 36,000 people in these straits will be dead. And this family's survival will come down to a hill, a hut, and a decision made in the dark. This is what they saw happen. Krakatoa was not supposed to be dangerous. The only confirmed eruption anyone could point to was a moderate event in 1680. After that, silence. 200 years of it. Long enough for jungle to swallow the slopes, long enough for the world to forget what the island underneath it could do. Then, on May 20th, 1883, the northern cone woke up. Steam, ash clouds climbing 6 miles high, explosions you could hear in Batavia, 100 miles away. And here is the part that tells you everything about what happened next. Nobody ran. People got curious. 1 week later, a steamship left Batavia carrying tourists. They had felt the earthquake shocks. They had watched explosions light up the night. And they sailed toward the volcano anyway, for a weekend look. Through June and July, the mountain flared up, quieted down, flared up again, and the coastal towns learned to live with it. Fishermen cast their nets, farmers tended their crops. The rumbling became background noise. In the small Sumatran town of Ketimbang, the Dutch controller Willem Beyerinck watched the ash columns across the water with his wife Johanna and their 3 children. 10 miles from the volcano, closer than almost any other family on the coast, everyone had 3 months of warnings. The problem was, the warnings had become normal. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon on August 26th, the explosions changed. By 2 o'clock, a black column of ash stood 17 miles over the island, punched deep into the stratosphere. This was no longer a spectacle. This was a crisis unfolding in real time, and everyone in the strait could feel it. Out on the water, ships began taking notice. Aboard the vessel Hope, Captain Proutz reported that the day turned dark as night, raining ash as fine as sulfur powder, and steaming through the middle of the strait was a passenger ship called the Loudon, under a captain named Johan Lindeman. Remember him. In 18 hours, every life on that ship will depend on one decision he makes in a matter of seconds. Through the night, the explosions came every 3 to 4 hours, like distant heavy gunfire, each one larger than the last. In Ketimbang, ash began to fall on the Beyerinck house. Willem made the call that would decide everything. They abandoned their home in the darkness and climbed to a small hut on the hill above the town. August 27th, 5:30 a.m., a massive explosion tears through the island. 6:44, a third. Each blast is throwing tsunamis outward across the strait, and then, at 2 minutes past 10 in the morning, Krakatoa detonates. The final explosion carries the force of 200 megatons of TNT, nearly 10,000 times the bomb that would later fall on Hiroshima. 2/3 of the island simply ceases to exist, collapsing into the emptied magma chamber below. It remains the loudest sound in recorded human history. 40 miles away, on the deck of the Norham Castle, the shockwave ruptures the eardrums of the sailors. 3,000 miles away, the distance from New York to London, people on the island of Rodriguez hear what they think is cannon fire and scan the horizon for a battle that isn't there. The pressure wave doesn't stop at all. It circles the entire planet 3.5 times over 5 days, registering on barographs in more than 50 cities, a ghostly pulse passing every 34 hours. But the sound was not the killer. The killer was already crossing the strait. The collapse of the island shoved the sea outward in walls of water taller than buildings. Near the town of Merak, a Javanese farmer named Ahmed watched a great, black shape approaching. It was very high and very strong, he said, and we soon saw that it was water. In the middle of the strait, Captain Lindeman saw it too. Other vessels were scrambling for port, trying to outrun it. Lindeman did the opposite. He turned the Loudon directly into the tsunami, bow first, riding head-on up the face of the wave instead of being caught broadside. The ship climbed, crested, and came down the other side, Every passenger and crew member survived. The steamship Baru was not so lucky. The wave picked her up like a toy and set her down more than 1.5 miles inland. All 28 crew members were killed. And on the hill above Krakatoa, the Beyerinck family was learning that they had escaped the water, but not the volcano. Around noon, hot ash began falling on the town below, an event remembered as the burning ashes of Krakatoa. Roughly 1,000 people died there, not from the sea, but from the sky. Inside the hut, the world went black. Johanna Beyerinck described ash forcing itself up through the cracks in the floorboards, like a fountain, burning them, choking them, and in that darkness she heard her husband say, "Where is the knife? I will cut all our wrists, and then we shall be released from our suffering sooner." He never used it. The family held on through the night. Willem, Johanna, and 2 of their children came down the hill alive. Their youngest did not survive the burns. They lived on the edge of the one outcome nobody in the strait had prepared for, and they were among the lucky ones. The official toll recorded by the Dutch authorities was 36,417 dead, more than 34,000 of them killed by the tsunamis. Some modern estimates put the true number as high as 120,000, and the strait was not finished giving up its dead. 9 months later, in May of 1884, schoolboys walking a beach on Zanzibar, 4,500 miles across the Indian Ocean, found a huge raft of black pumice washed ashore. Tangled inside it were human skeletons, the bones of monkeys, and 2 tigers, silent passengers, carried from one side of an ocean to the other. For years afterward, the whole planet carried the evidence. 20 million tons of sulfur dioxide had been thrown into the stratosphere, veiling the Earth and cooling global temperatures, a volcanic winter. Sunsets burned blood red from London to New York, so vivid that fire brigades were called out to blazes that didn't exist. A decade later, on a hillside in Norway, the painter Edvard Munch would render a sky like that in a painting the world knows as The Scream, and many believe Krakatoa's sunsets were what he saw. Scientists tracking the haze noticed it rode a fast, consistent river of air along the equator. They called it the equatorial smoke stream, an early glimpse of the high-altitude winds we now study as jet streams. The world thought it was watching an ending, but the story of Krakatoa didn't end in 1883. On December 29, 1927, 44 years later, fishermen in the strait noticed something strange in the water directly above the collapsed caldera. Bubbles, steam, from the drowned throat of the old volcano. A new island was rising. They named it Anak Krakatau, the child of Krakatoa. It grew 20 to 30 feet every year, and it inherited its parents' temperament. On December 22, 2018, 2/3 of the child collapsed into the sea in a single flank failure, and the water answered exactly the way it had in 1883. A tsunami struck Java and Sumatra with waves up to 16 feet, killing 437 people, injuring more than 14,000. And because the collapse was a landslide, not an earthquake, Indonesia's tsunami warning network never sounded. The waves arrived in darkness on a holiday weekend with no warning at all. Today, the child is monitored around the clock with seismometers, tilt meters, and satellites. As of early 2026, the alert level sits at level 2. Gas still rises from the vent. The volcano is quiet, but the family on the hill could have told you what quiet is worth.